we had a beautiful, beautiful season. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. I'll probably talk the longest, but we got a couple of coaches that want to talk here in just a second. So I don't forget while it's on my mind. This is a huge family. This is a huge endeavor. And I'm so blessed that I'm not alone in this journey. I've got a bunch of great people that work right alongside of me, and we check our egos out the door, and we want what's best for your kids. And so I'm truly blessed to call all these guys my brothers, because without them, our program wouldn't be what it is, truthfully. That being said, I'm going to call up Coach Josh Winfrey to the stage. He wants to say a couple of words about her season and her kids. Come on up. Come in.
Now it's awkward. All right, so everybody knows how much I love to coach, how animated I like to get. This group of kids that we've had, it just means the world. You know, normally we deal with groups that get in trouble and stuff like that. We didn't have this problem. It was just all business to them. And, you know, not to be on the big stage and have the tournament, to go to UR and do it like we did, just an honor to be part of that. I'm just proud of every one of y'all. I don't cry often. I think I've got broke from crying. But one memory that stands out to me this year from Big Ben, I want to speak about him. You know, he was the dark horse in the room, I think so. You know, the kid nobody thought would be able to do it, he did it. So that's my great thing. But proud of all y'all. Love y'all.
Next up, we got Coach James Kiefer to the stage. Woo! Coach Kiefer's been with us for how many years, Coach? 2016. Huge part of who we are. He gets our kids in the best shape. I dare say, and I say with full confidence, that our team at the end of the year, even before then, but for sure at the end of the year, are in better shape than any kids in the state, bar none. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach James Kiefer.
I'd just like to say, these young wrestlers, they proved what everybody said they couldn't do. You know, we were up against, everybody was saying, well, Avery's the piece of the beat. And the greatest satisfaction was walking in there with 5 guys in the finals and walking out with 5 state champions. Where another couple teams went in there, they were stacked 13 kids, 12 kids in the finals, up away with 3 or 4. All right? It's the effort all the boys and girls put together in the room against each other every day. And every day, the wrestlers go in there and they absolutely beat each other up. That's a good thing. It's a good thing in this room. Be a little bit tougher than everybody else. Be a little bit rougher than everybody else. To walk with your head up and your shoulders square. You should always do that. You should always be confident in what you do and what you say. And the people you are surrounded with, they will gravitate to you if you are that person in the room. I am proud of every one of them. Luke Wilson, I'll tell you what, I remember the day Coach and I walked over to the rehab center.
Alternative school.
And this little guy comes out and he can talk to Mom and I'm thinking, yep, we're up the rest of through and through right here. And I'm so proud of you, son, the way you come through this year with all the ups and downs. And I don't think there's anybody else that wrestled in more weight classes out of his weight class this year than anyone else in the state. Probably half the season he wrestled at 120, 115. He bounced around where we needed him. That is truly good job, ladies. Jaden and Kyle, you know, they're the best friends, and they sharpen steel. You know, it's a competition within each other, and that's a good thing. I think we get away from too many odds too often in this society where we don't want competition. We just want to be pushed along. We just want the kids passing on. That don't work in wrestling. The best always rises to the top. And then I told him at the beginning of the year, I said, now you've got all the tools you need. All you need is that little bit of drive. He got it. He had it. I knew that he had a chance to stop his power. And I know that's the chance. But he could have he did. He honed in. Kate Williams, once again, you can't say much against the way he wrestled. He was in control of every match he was in. He knew that he was the best wrestler on the mat. And walking on the mat, knowing that you're the best wrestler, is a big thing. All right? Never doubting it. I'm the best when I step on that line. Ainsley's just tough. I mean, she's just tough. She don't like me too much sometimes, but that's okay. Because she comes through when it gets tough, she comes through. She really does. Every time. Never complain. I'll never forget that match up at Ainsley. She absolutely that first 30 seconds, every bit of adrenaline just gone. She was in it. She was on it. But when she came up the mat, couldn't be more prouder than anyone else in the room that day. So I just wanted to congratulate the champions. But the other guys that are on the team that are sitting here tonight, you made that happen. You made that happen. The wrestling partners in the room every day, pushing the partner to be a little bit harder, be a little bit tougher. Take one more shot. Stand up one more time. That's what makes you champion. Pushing beyond what you think you can do. I believe this year is going to be even better than last year. Because we've got a shot at everything we want to do. I believe in our team. I believe in our coaches. I believe in this man right here. You know, I said it when we won the state champion. Not a lot of coaches in his position will open up the doors to somebody new and a new theory or a new workout routine. He gave me that shot. I appreciate it. I can't be more thankful to be a part of this wrestling team and a part of this school. And I really appreciate everyone here. Thank you very much.
Well, I guess that leaves me. I've obviously offered the other coaches the opportunity to speak, but I do want to point them out. Coach DJ Robinson, sitting here to my right, he's helped me since he graduated, and that was, I'm going to tell his age right here, about 18 years ago. And he's helped me every year with the exception of 2 since then with the kids program and middle school and beyond. So huge shout out to him. Weston Haney's sitting back here in the back. Weston Haney was part of the first group that put us into the Final Four, and and he was not what I call the truth. He's my first state champ, but he'll always be special to me because he proved that what I believed in and our philosophies and our thing would work. And he also showed other kids what it takes to be successful. And you can do the sport in season and be somewhat successful, but if you want to be as successful as you want to be, and if you want to wrestle at the next level, his dad, kudos to his dad and Miss Janie for taking him all over the country, but he wrestled all over the country for 2 years, and because of that, he was state champion senior year. So Coach Weston Haney's been with me a long time, and I love him dearly. Got Coach Brent Millsap's in the back. Coach Millsap's been with me for a long time. A lot of our success hinges on his shoulder. Him and Billy Knight both have taken that middle school program to a place that we never thought possible, truthfully. And I'm so indebted to them by bringing kids to me after they get done with our kids program, going through that middle school program. We don't have to spend a lot of time on the kind of elementary basics. And so by having that program in place, I love them sincerely for that. Urban Portugal's in the room somewhere. Urban Portugal's over here, another state champ for me. And for the other wrestlers in the room, I always tell this story. Urban Portugal is 1-0 as a freshman. True story, 1-0. And his one win was the forfeit. Truth, right, Urban? Okay. And he's a state champ his senior year. And he's dedicated a lot of his time while we're in the room, but what's special about Urban is he's taken a lot of time, not with us, to work with kids in the off season and off time to try to make them better. So it's super cool for that to happen. Josiah Phillips wrestled all the way through for us. You know, little kids, middle school, high school. He's been a big part of us. He's been a good sport. He's a young guy. He's a young coach, you know, and he brings the energy to our room that's just contagious. And I really, really appreciate everything he does. You still want to speak, Joe?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm just messing with Joe. He's mortified when I asked if he wanted to speak or not, you know. And there's several coaches that are not here. And I dare not try to call their name because I'm getting old. I'll miss their name, okay? But for all the people that do help me in each capacity, in every capacity, I truly, truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do. With that being said, we lost George Oliver this past year. Tremendous loss for our program. And then unfortunately we lost his wife. And George and Margaret were tremendous supporters of the wrestling team. I would be remiss if I didn't mention them. George Oliver is the reason why we are having a party here on Mill Creek and celebrating these state champions. Without his vision for Robbinsville wrestling, this thing never would have happened. And then, most unfortunately, we lost his son Michael, who helped coach Robbinsville in different capacities throughout the year, served as a volunteer, was a volunteer coach, and so that Oliver family has lost 3 icons for our sport, and my heart breaks for them. And please, you know, in the ether, keep them in your prayers because they're special people of our program. They are our cornerstone. Good news is, this past year, we had a great year. It was a tough year because we always had that fear of, are we going to get it in? Are we going to make it happen? And we did. And I really enjoy these state championship rings. I really enjoy those things, but what I really enjoy the most about this season is that Robbinsville Wrestling, the program that your kids are a part of, is extremely respected across the state of North Carolina. And it's because of a tremendous amount of hard work by a bunch of different people. But your program has finished, out of the last 13 years, they finished one of the top 4 teams in the state 11 times. I don't know of another program in the state that can boast that. People have ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys, and Robbinsville Wrestling has been a model of consistency since 2008. And that's super cool, super cool. This year was also different with the kids. We probably had more state qualifiers on the team, but because we choose and we do that freely to wrestle a schedule that is as tough as I can make it, it hurt our seeds when it came regional time. There are other programs that duck and dodge. You know, don't have to call any names because it hurts their feelings. They're probably guilty. But I promise you this, it will never be Robbinsville Wrestling. Whether we're up or down, we're going to wrestle anybody and everybody. Have a bus, we'll travel. You know, we'll pull a mat out here in the yard if we have to make it happen. And I'm very proud of that because we may not always be on the top of the podium, but I promise you, y'all are raising the toughest kids in the state of North Carolina, period. And I'm super proud of that. We ended up second in the state this year at the state tournament. They didn't have a dual team championship, and for us to be able to pull that off, any other average year, any other year that's ever been, we scored enough points to win the state tournament. You don't go into the state tournament with 5 champions, 5 in the finals, and don't win the blind thing. But we've got a nemesis. We've got another program That's put in hard work. It's put in a lot of time. And right now they're king of the mountain. Hard part about being king of the mountain, staying on top. And I promise you, we're coming. We're coming. So they need to know that. Put them on notice. It puts you on notice. It means it's going to take a lot of hard work by y'all to make that happen. Because I want our program to be seen, to be known, and to forever be remembered as putting the toughest kids on the mat, period. We also won the conference tournament. We also won the conference title. I think it was our third year in a row, maybe. You know, it's funny, and I for sure don't want to dismiss it. But when I became the coach 18 years ago, winning the conference title was like my only goal as a coach. It's a means to an end now. We got to win the conference. We want to win that tournament. But our goals and our expectations are so much higher. So much higher. And I'm glad that I've got a community that's bought in, that I have parents that don't make excuses for kids. It's a death knell, is what it is. Don't make excuses for your kids. Tell them to find a way. And if you do that, they'll become more productive people. Now, I'm going to get to these just in a second, but I do want to put this out there so everybody knows where I stand on this. I really enjoy winning. I really enjoy being a part of something bigger than myself. But if I, or we, or the program produces kids that are not good dads, that are not good husbands, that are not good people, that are not good mothers, that are not good wives, that are not good people, then we have failed. Period. So I'm really tickled that we've got six state championships to give out tonight. But if those 6 kids, fix to be young adults, don't go out into this world and be productive citizens and mean what they say and say what they mean and act like somebody on and off the mat, then all of this was for nothing. So I want y'all to understand that as the head coach of Robbinsville Wrestling, my goal is not state championship. My goal are great kids. That's my goal. And luckily, I've got a bunch of good friends that share the same goal. So, now, what we've all been waiting for, right? And I appreciate the kids being patient. Obviously we had to wait a little while, and I'll tell this about Luke Wilson real quick because I think it needs to be said. Luke obviously has graduated. He's only one of the 6 that's not coming back, and he will be sorely missed. But I texted him and said, hey, we're trying to find a date. When can you come in from work? I don't know, coach, blah, blah, blah. And he messaged me privately and said, listen, coach, I don't want those other guys in Ainsley to go another day without those rings. You go ahead and give it to them, and I'll get mine later. So I made up my mind right then that if I had to hold on to them for another 6 months, I was going to make sure that young Lucas was here. So I appreciate that. The first person, and I'll try to go in order as how they want it because that's how they go up on the wall. The first person that won a state title this year made some serious history. And when I say some serious history, I'm talking about the first. And when I'm talking about the first, I'm talking about Ainsley Fink. And I don't want you to come up yet, but Ainsley Fink was the first person to ever win the Smoky Mountain Conference title. Pretty big deal. Okay. She's also the first person in Western North Carolina to ever win the state title. And I'm pretty sure that Western North Carolina, as far as our world, has never had a girls' state qualifier. And so for Ainsley Fink to go to the state championships and win as convincingly as she did, she pinned all the way through. Right, Jarrett? I mean, Jarrett called it outside out, back. He said she's going to pin all the way through, and she did. And, you know, the cool part is, and I hope that she will understand the gravity of what she's done, is that now there's a bunch of little girls that look to her and recognize her as being the first. And I wanted it on the inside of the ring. That's another conversation for another time, but I wanted the inside of the ring to say this. Someone has to be the first, and it was you. And so,
Where are we going?
it's really cool to see dreams come true. Ladies and gentlemen, Ainsley Pink. I'll show them other tater heads that yet. Alright. Let's think about how this went down. What weight we started the state tournament? 70. So you'll be next, right, Kay? Yeah. Thank you for that, buddy. Let's see. No, they didn't seem yours. So, here's the cool part about Cage Williams. He's next. 182-pound state champion. We've been waiting 27 years for him to grow up and be big enough to wrestle for Robbinsville. The kudos, though, is not to the Robbinsville High School wrestling staff. It's not. I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful that we exposed him to the sport and he fell in love with the sport. That we can probably take credit for. But the credit for his success goes to his mom and dad, who have worn out, God knows, the vehicles, that spent a tremendous amount of money toting him all over the country to expose him to the best competition that he could get. He has lofty goals. Robbinsville Wrestling has one person that has ever wrestled 4 years at the next level. No matter what level it is, only one. And he's here. I'll call his name. It's Weston Haney. Weston Haney wrestled 4 years at Appalachian State, and I love him for it because somebody has to be the first. And it was him. Well, we had another first. Robbinsville Wrestling has never had a freshman state champion. And not only did Cage win the state title, but he also did it by going undefeated, 29-0, correct? 29-0, and I'm pretty sure that he didn't give up a takedown all year. Is that correct? That's correct. So, never gave up a takedown all year, undefeated at 29-0. Got to notch his name as a 182-pound state champion. I am so proud of this young man. He's always done everything we've ever asked him to do without question, without comment, without any kind of cuss words. He just does it. He goes to work every day. He's a pleasure in the room. He dishes out beatings, and he's made everybody around him better because we get to call out the next 2 weight classes at state champs, and a large part of it is that they got to wrestle Cage Williams every day. Ladies and gentlemen, the state champion at 182 pounds this previous season, undefeated, Mr. Cage Williams. Come on up. This next one's tough. I'm not gonna lie about it. Because this next one is a young man I've known since he was 5 years old. And on a daily basis, we butt heads. We do. It happens. And one of these days, maybe he's like me, it took me to be about 25 years old for me to understand that my dad had a whole lot of sense. But he learned a lesson pretty early this year, and it changed the whole course, possibly, of his career. And we scheduled a dual team with West Forsyth with my buddy Coach Hooker, and we traveled down there and had huge expectations. And I kept telling this young man that he needed to change his philosophy a little bit and how he wrestled. And it just, truthfully, he'll tell you, he didn't want to listen to me because what he was doing was. But what happened is that he goes down there, takes a couple of lumps, and it changed his trajectory, it changed his philosophy, and it became a whole lot easier to coach. And because of that, and because of his effort, and because he's been super talented his entire life in the sport of wrestling, he becomes a two-time state champion. And I have to say that he's done something until this year. With Kay's being in the finals and winning, he made the finals as a freshman. He won it last year, and the impressive part is he made the finals as a freshman. He weighed 188 pounds, but he wrestled 220. And then he won it at 195 last year, and then won it at 195 this year, and he's walking around at 182 pounds today. So it's really cool to see the amount of hard work that he's put in, and the rewarding part for me is that sometimes it takes another perspective to get people to listen. And I really believe that the 2 state titles that Kyle Fink has won, and I'll be honest with you, and I'll mention one that I've already talked about, Ainsley Fink's state title as well, and Jaden Now's state title coming up. I think all those rest firmly on Ren Millsap's shoulders. His willingness to get up at 5 a.m. and go in and work out with these kids to make them stronger, gave them the opportunity, and was a difference maker in their season. And it was a big difference maker last year. It was a huge difference maker this year. And I think without that, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So, and I hope that these kids realize the extracurricular effort that a lot of these coaches put into this program and this particular sport. I love him dearly. He's a fine young man. I openly and gladly call him mine, and it's my esteemed pleasure to give him his second state championship ring, 2-time state champ, and an Ironman for us this year, Mr. Kyle Fink. Come on down today. Great, Harry. The next one, the guy we call Big Ben. Big Ben, you know, and I'll tell you where I knew that Ben had a legitimate shot. You know, and here's the thing, I'll tell you straight up, Big Ben, watch out, is not scared of hard work. He's not. His mom and dad won't let him be. Fact, you know. And you start seeing these recurring themes the kids that are super successful, it's the ones that have the parents that won't accept anything less but their best effort. But I'll tell you where I really saw the spark that I was like, Big Ben might be able to win it. We were in an off-site facility and we were wrestling, and he was going live with Cage Williams. Now you keep in mind that Cage didn't give up an offensive takedown all year. Okay? And there ain't many people that can say that took him down in the room in a live session, because he takes a lot of pride, as he should, in not getting taken down. And I say this, but it was the most devastating takedown. I actually thought that Cage was a yard dart, because you remember this, right, Cage? Okay. Because he finally got Cage's feet up off the mat, and Ben took about 4 steps and just jumped, like he was like WWE stuff, and just pounded him into the mat, and like their eyes were both like saucers, because Cage, number one, couldn't believe that he got took down, and I don't think Ben was like, oh my God, I just took Cage Williams down. And at that point, I was like, this kid can win it. This kid can win it. You know, and like I say, it's very refreshing. You know, his dad works off, and he works hard for a living, and his mother works hard for a living, and you know, and they've got a great family unit. And I love seeing videos of Ben Wachacha in a parking lot in Raleigh, North Carolina, flipping a tire. Who does that? Big Ben Wachacha does. You know, and it's a difference maker. You know, and his dad and mom put him in a gym and training in different disciplines and doing all these things, and it's about opportunity, and it's about the effort. And the cool part about it is that he got the max out of himself that he could this year. I don't know his final record. I'm wanting to say it was something in 2. Right, but I don't remember how many wins. I think it's like 22-2 maybe, or I don't know. Maybe y'all know, but he took 2 losses to 2 really good kids, and he went in just like Coach Winfrey said. He was the dark horse. He was not picked by any media outlet. Shout out to the Graham Star, by the way. Okay, for the record, the Graham Star didn't pick any winners, so I'm not throwing
That's
shade
right.
at them.
We stay neutral, baby.
As I get to that in a second, the Graham Star does a great job covering us, and Kevin does a great job promoting our sports in our little town. So I really appreciate what Kevin and the Graham Star does, and I would appreciate y'all if y'all would give him a big hand for what he does for all of our athletes.
That's not necessary.
He loves being in the spotlight.
Yes, I do.
That's,
Yeah.
he really does. But you know, and I've got a bunch of dear friends that do a lot of this predicting, and Ben Wachacha wasn't on the radar. He wasn't even on the map. He wasn't even on the ship as far as they were concerned, and that's okay, because Ben Wachacha walked into that gym and said, you know what? I'm 0-0. It doesn't matter what my record is. I'm going to trust my training. I'm going to trust my toughness. I'm going to trust what's been taught to me. And he walked in, and he absolutely shocked the world. But the cool part about it was he didn't shock himself, because he walked in and said, I'm going to win the state title. And it's really cool. It's really cool to see all these young people who, you know, there again, I can't take a lot of credit, but I did expose these young men and young lady. Ainsley never wrestled in the kids program for me, but a lot of these other guys did, and you know, I just think back, and I've got all kinds of pictures of Kyle and Ben wrestling each other, matching. You know, there's always the same weight. They were about always the same side. And then I don't know if Ben eat a ginseng root or what. He's 6'6" or something ridiculous. But they're not the same size anymore. But the cool part about it is that, you know, iron sharpens iron. and that group is fun to watch, and that group's all coming back, and to have 3 state champions wrestle each other every day is something very, very special. So it is my pleasure. But before I come up here, because they've had such a great relationship, I like to ask Josh Winfrey to come up and give him his ring. The Big Ben Wachacha, come on up. Ben said he wanted to say a few words. I'm just joking. Oh, we go.
Show the people. They want to see you.
Two more. And I'll say that, and I was told this, I've really never taken the time to verify it, but I'll trust the information. I don't think the guy's a liar, but 5 state titles in 1 state tournament in any classification, at least in the 1A is a record. The Robbinsville Wrestling has that record. But the good news is we didn't have 5. You know, I'm going to go on record right now, and I've talked to some folks about this. We have a football team out there that went as far as they could possibly go, and they won their last game, and they've never been named state champions. And that just bugs me. It really does. You know, and those guys, obviously, they've been inducted in the Hall of Fame at this point, but I wish the state would recognize them and understand that. But I say all that to say this. We didn't have 5 state champions this year. We had 6. So if y'all want the record, come get some. That's what I'm telling you. You know, so to have 6 state champions is incredible. It's incredible. You know, and I'll be completely honest, when Weston Haney was a sophomore, and I looked for David, and I hadn't seen him yet, but I confided in David Haney, who was helping the coach at the time. I said, I just don't know if I'm good enough to coach a state champion. I don't know if I'm good enough. I just don't know if I know enough technique. I don't know if I know. And he said, Todd, he said, you need to become a student of the sport. And the good thing about wrestling is, he said, just keep it simple. You don't have to do all the flashy stuff. They just need to do 2 or 3 things and be able to do them really well. And so the cool part is that to have 6 in 1 year is extremely humbling for myself. But to look at that and think back 15 years ago when I had that conversation with Coach Haney, you know, it really makes me feel good, because that one conversation probably kept me in the sport. And so, pretty neat. This next young man has been a blessing and a curse sometimes. He has made me want to pull what little hair I have left out. His grandmothers, plural, have leaned on me to help get this young man where he needs to be, and it was my pleasure to do so. I have to say that. But like Coach Kiefer said, we got a phone call, and we've got people looking out for us all the time. And we got a phone call, and as we have over the years, they said, there's a kid right now that stays in a lot of trouble, but he's freakishly strong for his size, like abnormally strong. And if you can get him just to sit still for a few minutes, he'll probably be a good wrestler. And like Coach Kiefer said, we went to go see him, and at the time he was at the alternative school, and he just wanted to talk to somebody, you know, and I was like, hey, you know, Luke, I'm Coach Odom, and I'd like you to wrestle. I mean, it was like Fast Forward was hung on a cassette tape, you know, and so for whatever reason, I said, I think I'm going to call you Skywalker. He's like, what do you mean? And I told my age, but I was like, you know, Luke Skywalker, like in Star Wars. And he embraced it. And even his walkout song was Star Wars related. And so Luke was probably the reason his freshman year why we won the conference title. And as his career went on, we have a philosophy at Robbinsville, and we, like I said, we love to win. And so it ain't my job, but it's Bill and Ren's job to scheme these matches. And so we have to ask kids sometimes, even if they're the better kid at that weight, to wrestle up. And for 3 years, Luke done that without question. We had one small hiccup this year, but there's nobody in the history of Robbinsville wrestling. Billy Knight is the numbers guy. He looked at it, and over Luke's career, he wrestled above his weight class more than half the time. More than half the time, he wrestled above what his true weight tended to be. And obviously there's several stories out there about that, but the story that I want to lean on and what I want people here and out there to understand is the amount of pressure this young man was put under. I said it earlier, let me put it like this. We don't dodge anybody. And I'm very proud of that. But there was a young lady who came through our sport, and credit goes to her. She was a pioneer, and she's made women's wrestling very, very attractive to a lot of young girls. And so, and I appreciate that of her. But she was so good that nobody wanted to wrestle her. And kids dodged her. They dodged her on purpose because they did not want to face her on the mat. And when it come time Luke's junior year, he said, I'll wrestle. And it didn't come out on Luke's face. He lost that match. And unfortunately, as cruel as our world is, for a solid year, he had to endure a lot of ribbing, a lot of ugliness, and truthfully, Luke was good enough to not wrestle that weight class again, but Luke chose to go against the one person and that whole experience that probably hurt him the worst. Not many people are willing to do that. I'm going to be honest with you. They're not. They're not willing to go face the tough kids. They want the easy route. And I'd say his parents and grandparents would say Luke's never took the easy route in anything. Okay? And so Skywalker said, I'm going back down and I'm going to win the state title. And so, because of how everything shook out seed-wise, if everything played out right, Luke was going to have to wrestle this young lady in the semifinal. But then it got worse. We get down to the state championship, we weigh in, we get ready, they're packed in there like stove wood, and we get the call, they're moving the state championship to another gym. Now I want y'all to understand, we prepare and we try to peak at a certain time, and our goal was to have these kids ready, and I truly believe one of the reasons why we were so successful is because of the mental toughness that our team had. Because a lot of wrestlers didn't perform well in that situation. But I can promise you, if you wrestle at the Ville, bet on the Ville. Because we wrestled great at home. But what happened was, we had to go to his nemesis home gym.
Yep.
Now, not only does he have to try to win a state title and beat somebody that he's never beat before, but he's got to go to their home gym and wrestle in front of their crowd, their support staff, their everything, and wrestle his personal demon, because it's tough on him. I'm not going to lie about it. It's tough on him. That whole situation was. But here's the good news. And I'm going to tell a story on Miss Ville real quick. She just said, oh, Lord. We get down there and we finally get settled in and we're fixing to wrestle. And I said, and she walked up to me and she said, Coach, Luke will win. And I said, I think so. And she said, by God, I didn't come down here for think. I need to know. He's going to win it, Mildred. She said, that's what I need to hear. Okay? But here's the thing. There again, it should resonate with you. The young people that have the support system at home, that have the expectations put on them, those are the ones that perform the best. And so don't make excuses for your kids. Hold them accountable. Hold them to the fire. Mean what you say what you mean, and then it will pay off. It'll pay off dividends. It'll pay off 10 times because of that. Good news is, Luke starts wrestling, and I knew he was going to win it when he tried to do a roll-through tilt right in the middle of the match, kind of in a hairy situation. And I was like, he ain't wrestling just to stay in the match. He's wrestling to win. And ends up, he's down, and he ends up getting the third period, and this young lady chooses bottom. Luke has to ride this girl for 2 minutes, and Luke's worst position is top. Just being honest, Luke's pretty good off bottom, real good on his feet. Worst position is on top. And 2 minutes, state title's on the line. If he rides her out, it's going to overtime. You know, and he just did what he had to do. Mentally tough, mentally prepared. He rides for 2 minutes, gets in overtime, gets in a kind of a mad scramble, takes her down, and the whole place goes crazy. And just like Coach Winfrey said about Big Ben winning it, there's a couple of moments in my life that I've got to watch wrestling, and Chris Norcross qualifying for the state tournament was a pretty epic moment in wrestling for me. But seeing Luke Skywalker Wilson beat the one thing that he took the most punishment, the most bullying, the most ribbing, the most antagonistic effort that everybody could put on him, and to go through that and to beat that person in their home gym, epic moment. And so I'm really, really proud. He gets in the finals, undefeated freshman, that's a really good, solid kid from Rosewood, and there was no doubt in my mind, there wasn't no doubt in Luke's mind, if he could get by that one, he's going to beat them all, and he did. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my extreme pleasure to announce to you the 106-pound state champion, Luke Skywalker Wilson. Maybe see it. Okay. Love you, brother. Last but not least, they randomly pick the weight classes, and so as you see on our state championship board in the wrestling room, it's a little bit off, it seems like sometimes, but it really isn't. It's when they win the state title, it's how they go up on the board. So it's a different kind of pressure when 5 of your teammates have won the state title and you're the last. Different kind of pressure. But the cool part about Jaden now is that in extreme circumstances, he seems to rise to the occasion. He's another young man that I beg that, hey, listen, you want to get where you want to go, then you need to start working out. You need to start getting up. You need to start going in early. You need to get everything out of yourself that you possibly can. And he did. And he goes through the season with a confidence that I hadn't ever seen out of him, to be honest. And for a young man to endure what he had to endure last year, to rise to the occasion, to go in and here's something that a lot of people don't understand is that Jade would wrestle everybody from 106 all the way to 160. And you know, he's kind of stuck there in the middle at 126 pounds, and he just sought out competition everywhere that he could. Beat a defending state champion at one match, several state placers, but he runs the gauntlet. A lot of firsts for our program, you know, but for me personally, I hadn't ever coached a person that went undefeated. And I didn't have one, but I had two. And I've never had the opportunity to coach two Ironmen. I've had the privilege to coach a couple of them, and Ironmen can't miss a second of practice. They can't get pinned. They can't get disqualified. There's a certain criteria that goes into that, but it's the award that we hold special. And the funny part about Cage's year last year is that we couldn't buy anybody to wrestle him. This year he rarely got a forfeit for whatever reason. He had all the competition, and him and J-Dog were notched and running a good tight race on who was going to have the most wins, and he's shaking his head, but Cage ended up 29-0, and J-Dog ended up 28-0. He ran the gauntlet. He went undefeated, and was an Iron Man, and it's my extreme pleasure to announce the 126-pound state champion, Jaden J-Dog now. Now, I'll end with this. I hope that y'all take a gander at those rings. They all had a hand, and it's always cool to try to design those things. But it's funny when we got Luke, and as I kept coaching him up, and I'd get a phone call and they'd say, "Hey man, Luke's acting up down here again." So one of the first times I ever went, I was like, "Luke, you like Mexican food?" He's like, "Yeah." "Look, you just do your homework, man. I'll take you out to Mexico." Okay. So I'd go and check him out of the alternative school, take him out to eat lunch, bring him back, and we forged a tremendous bond, he and I did. And I told him, I said, "Listen, you ain't right long enough, they're going to put you back in general population." And they did. You know? And the cool part about it is Luke is a success story for us, you know, and he's one of those young men who he with the exception of one day, and I had the liberty to say what I need to say to him to get him squared back up. He never complained about wrestling up. You know, we were in the dual teams, and you know, he'd drink a little bit of water to try to gain a little bit of weight so that he could make a weight class for us. And then he proved his unselfishness again again by saying, hey, if I can't be here, make sure that my teammates get their ring. That's being unselfish, Luke, and I love you for that. And so I have to brag on him. When we were designing our rings, when we were in my office and we were talking about it, he said, hey,
Hey.
He said, how about on the top of the ring, we put 6 black diamonds so that nobody will ever forget the year that Robbinsville Wrestling had, the 6 state champions. So when you look at the top of those rings, understand another unselfish move is that Luke wanted to be reminded, and he wanted the whole world to know what kind of season Robbinsville Wrestling had. And I'll always love him for it. Before I close, Travis Hooper, he's going to hate that I pointed him out. I seen him slide in here. Travis Hooper's been a tremendous asset to our program, and these guys that help me be a better person. So I really appreciate that. Miss Ann Smallwood sitting back here in the back, she has been, in my estimation, the best hire that Robbinsville High School has ever made. If they can wrestle, if they can play football, if they can throw a ball, if they can run, if they can get back, if they'll listen to her, they'll be healthy and they'll be better. And so I want everybody to give Miss Ann a big round of applause because I really appreciate her. Me and her, I had a talk. I'll never forget it. I went up to her and I said, listen, I'm not like every other coach. I'm a little different. Unless it's sticking out of the skin, I need them to wrestle. She's like, I got you, Coach. I got you. She said, I'm not like every other trainer either. And so she's a big part of our community. She's a big part of our school, and I really, really appreciate it. The last person I want to mention is, you know, we have, and a lot of it's due to social media, and you know, Ivy Lou has been around, and whatever she turns that year, her birthday is how long I've been the head wrestling coach at Robbinsville. She'll turn 18 on December the 7th, and I'll be the head wrestling coach for 18 years. I was middle school coach 2 years before that, and 1 year at Smoky Mountain. But you know, Miss Ivy has grown up and learned to walk and do all these things on the mat. But a lot of our fan base grew exponentially because of her commentating skills behind the iPhone or the iPad, and I couldn't tell you the amount of compliments that I've got about her because of that. And so I really appreciate her effort and what she brought different to our program this year. We're going to continue that because we've got fans far and wide that like to see these kind of things. Last thing I'll mention is that we have a young lady in her family here that doesn't have a vested interest in Robbinsville wrestling. Never had a kid, never had a nephew, never had a niece ever wrestle for Robbinsville Wrestling. But she loves wrestling. And she's been a dear friend of mine. And not only does she support the team, but she loaded herself up with a bunch of her family members. And she drove all the way down to try to be a part of, knowing that she couldn't even get in the gym. Now that's a fan. Let me tell you, when you drive 5 hours to go somewhere and all you want to do is sit outside the building, now that's being a black knight. And the cool part about it was after the debacle, she's the first one to the other schools. They think that she's been hired to cater this event. They open up the doors, and not only did she feed Robbinsville wrestling, but she fed everybody there. She probably had enough food for 3 weeks. You know, and the cool part about it was is she didn't go through there and slap a kid's hand and say, no, you can't have that. You ain't got a Robbinsville wrestling shirt on. she was like, yeah, honey, get you some drink, kids, you need a drink, you know, and it was just awesome. And so, Janelle Rattler, thank you so much for being a part of that.
Just gotta take me back. I want to go back and experience that.
We'll put you on the bus. So, you know, those things truly is what makes the Ville special. And I can't say it enough, you know, outside of being a dad and being a husband, the greatest honor that I've ever had has been to be the coach of Robbinsville Wrestling, to be a Black Knight, to be a part of this program. And it's a huge part of who I am. And you know, people say that a sport shouldn't identify you. I'll take it all day long. You know, I'm a wrestler, and I feel like I've been tough because of the lessons that I learned, because I was one of Grandma's kids, and because of this sport, it changed my life. And if you'll trust us with these kids, it'll change their lives for the better also. And so, with that being said, I love all y'all. I need y'all to get used to me telling your kids that I love them, and they love me back. I won't turn them loose unless they tell me that they love me, because I mean it. I'll be there. It's nice for this community to have a bunch of different sets of eyes on these young men and these young women that are now wrestling, and it helps keep them out of trouble. If they're out here on Mill Creek under the lights, then they're probably doing something good instead of something bad. So I appreciate y'all coming out. I sincerely appreciate the support that we've had, and I promise you this, if you go right now on Amazon.com and get you the best stadium seat that you can get, and try to get one with a seat belt, because buckle up, it's going to be a heck of a ride this year. Good night, y'all. God bless you. Thank you so much.